Hi, my name is Bo Cisco, founder and lead instructor of the Behavioral Analysis Training Group, and welcome to the briefing room. Today, we are going to talk about an officer involved in a disturbance inside a holding cell of a police station. Now, the person was arrested for a violent crime. He's being held in a holding cell, presumably while the officers do paperwork and get him ready to transport to the main jail. Now, during this time, the officers decide they're going to give him something to eat, a granola bar in this case. So the person's watching through the little window in the door, and the officer opens up the door, gives him a granola bar, and then a fight ensues. Now, we're going to watch this video, and I want you to tell me a little about what you saw and how this could have been avoided or at least understood so the behaviors can change. Remember, understanding these things helps you adjust your behavior to counter the behavior of others. Now, with that, what I'd like you to think about also is, did the officer do anything wrong? And why or why you not think that? And I give you an example. We're all going to come out of these videos saying, oh, the officer messed up. Should have seen this. Well, that's great, but it's not always the case. Let's understand that the officer is doing other things. Sometimes people don't understand behaviors as they're seeing them. And we all generally have the behavior inside us, whether good or bad, that we don't really believe things are going to happen, or we want to believe that things are going to work out okay. This is something that's natural inside people. We try and break it, but it's always there. So for the first couple seconds, you're going to see something to say, whoa, how did this officer not see this? Let's not jump to judgment. Let's just understand the behaviors, and we'll talk about them after the video. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Okay, so now we should see what I was alluring to in the first part of this video. As the officer opens the door, the person helps the door open, and then just the way he stands, he takes a fighting stance. Did you notice the feet? How they're almost in a fighting type of stance, one foot behind the other, holding the door open. Now, it's not an obvious I'm going to fight stance, but it is a stabilizing stance. He's there stabilizing himself between the doors so the door doesn't close, and also his feet are there as we would expect to be in a fighting stance. That would have been hint number one for me. I would have saw the stance and say, okay, why is he positioning himself like this? It could be something, it may be nothing, depending on how the person normally stands. But now that combined with reaching for the granola bar and then pulling back, like he's baiting the officer into the holding cell. That would have been my first and last thing I needed to see to say, I'm backing off and we're going to adjust our behaviors and do this in a different way. Now, why didn't the officer react? He's basically playing some little game of, as the officer is trying to give him the granola bar, he's pulling his hand back to make the officer reach further and further and further inside the room. Now, we see why he did it. It was an ambush attack to try and get the officer a little closer so the door wasn't closed on him. Makes sense. Now we talk about why didn't the officer see it coming? Well, remember, these behaviors weren't very overt. And always remember, when you're watching videos in a non-stress setting, whether it's on your phone, in a class, on YouTube, something like that, when you're watching these videos, remember, you have one thing to look at, these videos. When you deal with other people, remember, you have other things going on inside your mind. You're thinking about 20 other things, or you're dealing with things, looking at people's behaviors, trying to figure them out. Little things like this happen very fast. Now, I teach a class on body language, as you know, and there's many other videos that talk about behaviors. This one isn't so much about the dangling and pulling back of the candy bar or granola bar. It's more about understanding that even good officers can get baited into something like this very simple and very quickly. Remember, look for behaviors, think about behaviors. Don't give up your position of advantage, and understand that every movement someone does means something. If you see something that doesn't make sense, don't continue with the movement. Stop, pull yourself back, and reassess the situation. I'm not calling what the officer did as wrong. All I'm saying is that it's easy to get beaten from a psychological standpoint. It's called a normalcy bias. We don't want to believe that bad things can happen to us. Our brain is almost made to not want to believe these things. So when they happen, when this person pulled back, your first part of your brain is going to say, no, this is a mistake. Now, in law enforcement, we have to correct that because we understand the environment we're in. Under normal circumstances, going out amongst the average civilian day, that same exact behavior would have been playful, would have been funny, would have been a mistake, would have been completely overlooked and no harm done in most cases. But in us, we take something that under normal circumstances wouldn't be an attacking move, and we have to put it in our head. That's one of the big problems about civilian versus law enforcement. Law enforcement, we have to be able to drill this in our head every day. It's a difficult thing to do without learning and understanding behaviors and putting it into your script. Many times when people learn body language, they learn behavioral analysis and things like that, they've already been doing law enforcement for a very long time. So what they need is to be able to put it into everything that they do. And that's a hard thing to do. It's very hard, especially if you've been doing it 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's great if you're just studying law enforcement, but understand, be analytical of behaviors, understand any movement that doesn't make 100% sense, really kick in the part of your brain that becomes analytical about it because they're trying to do something that's maybe not in the direction that you want it done, like in this case. Like I said, the officer prevailed, backup came, they did what they had to do. It ended well, except for the fact it's a good learning lesson, but it's also good for us to see as well that even good officers can have that lapse because we're fighting against the natural parts of our brain that doesn't want to believe things are going to happen to us. And it's very hard, even for seasoned professionals, to change that mindset. But like I said, it's good behavior to see, understand. Next time, if you're in a situation like this, remember what happened. Remember to look at behaviors, act accordingly. Always put yourself in the position of advantage whenever possible. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. That really helps a small channel starting out for me to get this word out. And this is a free service. Please pass it on to your agencies or any other officers that think you may need a little extra help in the briefing room. I'll be putting out videos as often as I can. Thank you very much. Stay ready out there.